It was back in 1996. I was only a child. My parents were farmers. I spent most of my time out in the fields, catching toads. But one night, it had all led me doom. On July 23, 1996, I had gone to the fields at night. After getting a metal detector as a birthday present, I ran around with it and found nothing more than old, shredded metal from old cars. That's when I thought of the forest. My parents had told me not to go out there, and I kept hesitating. I eventually decided I would go in, as I could find something more than old scrap metal. After my metal detector went off, I dug under. I only felt something liquid, so I kept digging. It looked to be a small pond, tinted red, and there was an old metal piece covered with blood. After that, there was a demonic growl in the distance. I had quickly covered the pond back up and threw the metal piece down. Out of panic, I ran to nowhere and found myself in the middle of the forest. Then, there was soulless, red eyes staring at me. I was cornered. There was nowhere to go. Something hopped off of the tree and pinned me down. I smelled its horrible breath as its saliva dripped down onto my neck. I envisioned a demon with dripping saliva, until that's when I heard a pound. Its hand had clawed in the dirt next to me. It was blood-covered and fleshy. I do not know why, but I turned and faced it. It was a demon to me, a decayed face, dripping saliva, horns so big that they wrap around and curl. Red, fleshy skin, and then it had roared, a demonic screech. I was horrified and had kicked it, which enraged it. I got to my feet quickly and bailed, running through trees until I saw my house in the distance. But it was gaining on me, right behind me, and then, its sharp, decayed claws impaled me in the back. I saw nothing after that. I always had thought I've seen everything living in New York, but I was proven very wrong when I went to visit my in-laws' house in northern Minnesota. In 2003, I went to my in-laws' house. She was a very cherished woman, and she always had stories to tell us. I had decided to tell her and my family that I was going into the woods. My in-law was going to tell me something, but I cut her off by shutting the door. I think she had told me, "Watch out for the wind," before I had cut her words off. I grabbed my machete, phone, and rifle. I headed off into the vast and chilly forest, eager to get a good-sized moose for my family to eat for dinner. I took out my moose call and sounded it, but what I thought was weird was that what called back. I'd never heard anything like it before. It was this demonic, unbelievable screech. I became uneasy as I got that feeling of being watched. I thought nothing of my instincts as I was just paranoid, I had thought. I climbed into this huge spruce tree to set up my hunting base. I put all my winter clothing on, since it was really cold. I snacked on some Hershey's bars, which were now frozen, whilst I waited for a moose to come by. 2-3 hours into the trip and no moose. I end up being spooked by a huge stick snapping in the distance. I hear the sounds of snow crunching beneath something's feet. Something big, very big. I quiver and shake as I try to picture what that thing could be that is literally knocking over dead trees. Then I hear that screech again. Then I see it, the silhouette of this enormous thing. It appeared to be a humanoid creature, tall and lanky, with a deer skull as a head. I stood as still as a statue as the creature slowly turned and looked at me. Our eyes locked, and during our gaze lock, I saw its eyes slowly glow red. Then within the blink of an eye, I kid you not, the thing lunged right at my tree post, knocking me in the tree over. I braced myself for the fatal landing, but I was mostly okay, aside from a few scrapes from the branches. I realized I had to get up and run as fast as I possibly could, so that's what I did. I could hear the enormous creature's surprisingly quick stomps quickly catching up to me. Then I remembered that I had my rifle. I loaded it up and fired upon the huge beast, which only made it much, much angrier. I ran much quicker than I already was when I saw it getting much, much closer to me by the nanosecond. I hid behind a large, sturdy tree. I heard it sniffing the air powerfully. It finally went away. I sprinted home faster than I knew possible. When I got there, my in-law told me, "What happened? You look as pale as a ghost." I told her and my family everything. The last thing my in-law told me before I went to the kitchen to make hot cocoa was, "I told you, watch out for the Wendigo."